Welcome to the Osmo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal Emac coming to you with one Adam Ship my money share as we get ready for a Tuesday MLB slate. Looks like a full one. We're going to have some weather. We're going to have some hitting environments. We're going to have some top shelf pitching and gas cans in search of a match. Adam, how are you doing?
Doing good. Looking forward to a full slate that has better pitching than we had yesterday.
Yeah, fortunately, I didn't have to worry about that too much. Traveling around block and not doing contests. I had a ceremonial lineup in, and then I didn't even get to edit that one. So, oh well. I guess that happens. I did all right though. Friday was doing on an airplane, so I'd written my article, put my placeholder article in for Yahoo. Ended up getting 17th out of 1,500 in that $3 management fee free contest, and then 79th out of 39,000 on the free roll. Adam, what could have been? What could have been?
Yeah, solid night though.
Yeah, the ROI was very nice. I got like $42 on my $3 entry because I won $2 in their Yahoo Friday free roll that they run. But if you have not yet signed up with Yahoo, go to any of the Spotlight Hitters articles on the homepage of Osmo. Third paragraph in will give you the link, the promo code, and the details on how you can get up to $30 with your initial DFS deposit bonus. All right, Adam, this one will be a little bit fun since I'm down to one screen instead of getting to multi-screen here. But let's work our way, as we generally do, through game by game, looking at the pitchers. We'll use the old DK as the baseline, but we'll at the end circle back and talk about any Yahoo or FanDuel analysis that pops up. You, of course, can mention that at any time, but we'll sort of do a little rankings of what we're looking at. This, of course, is your foundational podcast. You will get at Wednesday at 9:30. You will get Adam. And who is your Wednesday co-host on the DFS Strategy Show?
Josh, but tomorrow's Tuesday.
Oh, it's Tuesday. I'm sorry. Goodness gracious. I have lost all track of time. So it will be, let's see, Tuesday is Jake and I believe Laffy. So there we go. Or potentially Josh. Who knows? But it'll be on at 9:30. You'll get that one. You'll, of course, get the deep dive at 4:45. That'll be Alex, Laffy, and Adam. And then, of course, Live Before Lock, taking you down the home stretch. But let's jump on in here. We've got a little bit of weather in our game in Philadelphia. Adam, this is the Cubbies going against the Phillies. You have Jose Quintana taking on Jason Vargas. Quintana 7,600, Vargas a very nice 6,900. You've got about a 5 implied run total for each team, depending on what site you're looking at. 55 to 70% chance of precipitation, depending on what site you are looking at. Let's quickly hit on these, assuming it plays. Quintana and Vargas, what do you got for the listener?
Not a whole lot here. With 15 games on the slate, having a full slate here, not a friendly park for pitchers. Neither pitcher, I think, is really that appealing. Neither one is a high strikeout guy. The Cubs have a ton of right-handed power, especially now that they've added Castellanos to the lineup. You have Castellanos, Baez, Bryant, and then guys like Almora and Bodie that are decent hitters as well. And then on the other side, for Quintana, a slumping Rhys Hoskins, but still a right-handed power bat there. Segura, Realmuto, Kingery, even Harper is good. So really unappealing spot for either pitcher.
Yeah, the one thing we can always look to against Quintana are righties. He has allowed a 181 isolated power in his last 1,001 right-handed hitters faced since the beginning of last season. Vargas, we don't know what we're going to do. Is it good Vargas? Is it bad Vargas? It's Vargas that you're going to pick wrong. But if you're going against him with anybody, he too is the guy you want to go against with righties. He is allowing a 195 ISO with a 325 WOBA, which is lower than I had expected there against righties. But the isolated power is up there, 1.6 home runs per 9. So he can give up the long ball, but he's been skating, all 15 of his years, or all 15 of his seasons, he's managed to survive here. Adam, our next game, we've got Alex Wood. I think this is his third or fourth start after coming off the injured list. He is going to be taking on the Washington Nationals in our nation's capital. It's going to be in the mid to upper 80s there at first pitch. It's very humid. We should see it 65 to 75%, and there's going to be if you're at the ballpark, a nice breeze going out between miles an hour to center field. We have Joe Ross on the other side. We want no part of Joe Ross, even though he is 5,500. Give me the lefties, give me the righties for the Reds. Alex Wood, on the other hand, someone who's intriguing, has not given up a lot of power recently. Of course, he missed a whole season there due to injury. Would you be interested at all in Alex Wood at 8,200?
Not particularly. There's just a lot of really good pitching at the top here, really high strikeout guys. So I don't really want to roster a mid-range pitcher that isn't a great strikeout pitcher, especially in a tough matchup against the Nats. I expect to be going stars and scrubs at pitcher on the two pitcher sites, and then obviously just rostering a really good pitcher on FanDuel. So I don't see myself getting a whole lot of Alex Wood here.
All right, let's continue on. We have the Baltimore Orioles, the New York Yankees. Feels like these guys play each other at least once a week. Adam, I'm sure it feels that way for you as an Orioles fan. John Means coming in at 5,900. I just can't in good conscience recommend pretty much anybody against the Yankees, but particularly Means at this point, though he is 5,900. So that becomes a little bit, we can't quite cross him off. The Yankees do have a 6.5 implied run total. They have Domingo Harmon taking the mound for them. He's coming in at $10,000. 3.7 implied run total there for Baltimore. We are looking at temperatures in the mid-70s. There's about a 70% chance of rain in the area. We will have to see if that starts to get heavy. It could be an issue. If it is light, they will probably play through it, depending on what it is. Adam, I think the one person we're really interested in is Domingo Harmon. Do you want to go with that top shelf price point, with the top shelf matchup, with a questionable pitcher?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good matchup. It's an okay price point for his talent level. It's just really hard when you compare him to Matt Boyd, Chris Sale, Clevenger, Lynn, Kershaw, Cole. It's just a ton of really, really top shelf pitchers right above him. And it's unlikely Harmon reaches 100 pitches, which makes it even tougher for him to compete with those guys. And so, yeah, it's just a slate where, if he had pitched yesterday, he would have been, the number one pitcher on the slate. But today it's pretty tough to get there.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that one. And then just throwing it out there, anything to consider with John Means?
No.
All right. Moving along here, Lance Lynn and Texas are up in Toronto taking on the Blue Jays. Lance Lynn coming in at, wait for it, I hope everybody's sitting down, 11,300. Come on, we can't get Sonny Gray above 10,000, and we're going to have Lance Lynn at 11,300. He gets to face Thomas Pannone, who is at 4,600. We do have to take note when lefties are going against the Rangers here, because they have a lot of lefties that they put out in their lineup. They hit for power, but they do not really hit for average or get on base against fellow lefties. Pannone, 4,600 here. It looks like the roof will be open. It will be a temperate day up there in Toronto, somewhere in the low to mid 70s, with a nice little breeze coming in from the outfield, about 5 to 7 miles an hour. Do you like Lance Lynn going against Toronto with that 45? Good God, I got to fix my screen here. My 4.5 implied run total, or Thomas Pannone at 4,600 DK pricing?
I like Lynn. I think it's really difficult to justify the price tag with all the other aces on the slate. He's really, really good, and you're probably going to get 5 righties in the lineup for Toronto. But it's just tough to pay more for Lynn than a lot of these pitchers. I think maybe a little bit more favorably priced on FanDuel because he's cheaper than Sale. A lot cheaper than Kershaw, but still just a secondary option at the top. Even though he's nowhere near as good, the guy that I'm actually interested in here is Thomas Pannone on DraftKings specifically. He's only 4,600. Texas has plenty of strikeouts in their lineup, and Pannone's fully stretched out. He has a 21.4% strikeout percentage this year, 4.96 Sierra, which isn't good, but not the end of the world either. But I mean, it's nothing about liking him. It's just, purely a price play. You can get him at almost the minimum, pair him with one of the aces at the top, and then still get whatever bats you want.
Oh, yeah, that's favorable thoughts there. We're going to come through a run of pitching here that's going to make, as you mentioned, the Lance Lynn decision a little easier for us. On to our next game here. We have Boston in Cleveland. 4.3 implied run total for Boston, 4.2 implied run total for Cleveland. Gosh, that seems lower than what we've seen for the last week or two for either of these teams. It's because Chris Sale and Mike Clevinger are on the mound. Clevinger tops Sale by $200 there on DraftKings, where Sale is $10,700, Clevinger $10,900. Tough matchup for Clevinger, but how many lefties? Let me rephrase this. How many lefties is Boston going to put out that scares you with Clevinger? Because that is his 1 week.
That scare me? Devers and Benintendi.
Okay. And they're going to probably put out Bradley and Moreland as well. So those guys don't make me as nervous. Depends what happens if Sandy Leon's in the lineup. Now, how do you feel about Clevinger going strength against strength with Betts, Bogarts, or JD?
Right. I mean, it's purely a talent thing. Like against lefties this year, 32% strikeout percentage, 128 expected ISO. Against righties, a 42% strikeout percentage, 111 expected ISO. I mentioned in his last start that Clevinger, who has always had really good stuff with a mid-90s fastball and then a slider, a curveball, and a changeup that all get huge swinging strike percentages. He's upped his slider usage against righties this year to 52%, and that's why you're seeing even more strikeouts. The problem is just that, he is facing the Red Sox, and because there are so many ace pitchers on this slate, it's not like he's the only one that's going to have low ownership. So he's certainly an appealing tournament option just based on talent, but I wouldn't expect to get to a ton of him in this matchup just because he's not really priced down, and I think that you'll be able to get to other aces that are low enough owned that they're a little bit more appealing.
All right, let's talk about Chris Sale. He will probably face Jason Kipnis as potentially the sole lefty in the lineup here for Cleveland. They do have, of course, their trio of switch hitters with Ramirez, Santana, and Lindor. And then they also have solid righties that get overlooked with Mercado, Franmil Reyes. And then what's up with Mr. Yasiel Puig? Is he serving his suspension yet?
Yeah, he's suspended.
Okay. Again, traveling, haven't been able to read all the game blurbs.
No, I mean, it just happened like today.
Oh, perfect. Okay, good. I was saying, I did read a fair amount, and that was Sunday. That was yesterday. How have I lost track of everything when we've had just one day go by? That's what happens when you're multi-time zones away and not in your usual digs here. What would you like to do with one Mr. Chris Sale?
It's not a great matchup. The Indians don't have a ton of strikeouts, but I think it's just made up for by Chris Sale's salary. He's 10-7 on DraftKings, which makes him the 5th most expensive pitcher on the slate. He's 10-5 on FanDuel, so he's still cheaper than Clevinger. He's cheaper than Cole if that game's on the slate. I'm not sure if it is. I'm assuming it is. He's reasonably priced. It is a tough matchup, but you're still talking about Chris Sale, one of the best pitchers in baseball, 3rd highest strikeout percentage on this particular slate behind Cole and Clevinger, but still at 35.3%. 3.01 Sierra is second to Cole, and he's a lot cheaper than Cole. He's even cheaper than Clevinger. So it's a spot where, like, if he's getting crazy ownership, I wouldn't be afraid to get away from him, but I think he's underpriced, whereas I think Lynn and Clevinger are appropriately priced. I think Kershaw is appropriately priced. I think Cole's appropriately priced. I think Sale is a bit underpriced.
Over his last 196 lefties faced, Sale has allowed 1 home run. Over his last 1,000 righties faced, he has allowed just 32 home runs. Pretty impressive. 1.60. Pardon me. God, my decimals are killing me today. 0.160 isolated power there against righties in those same 1,000 at bat. So this one is an intriguing matchup. You will, of course, get the old Osmo popularity projections there. You can see who is swelling, who is crestfallen, who is where the masses are, and utilize your leverage appropriately. We do have a lot of offense on this slate, so I suspect most of the aces will see their popularity somewhat diffused. Moving along to our next guy, Clayton Kershaw, the dream matchup against the Miami Marlins. They will go almost entirely, if not everyone, as a righty against him. Jordan Yamamoto will be taking the mound on the other side. He is at 6,800. I really don't have a lot of interest in him because he's going to have to face Peterson, Bellinger, Seager, Muncy, etc. from the left side. That's a tough ask for anybody. So Kershaw at the tippy top of the pricing lists in that amazing matchup against the Marlins with 3.1 implied run total. Do you want to earmark that much of your salary cap towards a pitcher?
It's just really tough on this slate. He's been better as far as strikeouts go recently. Some adjustments to his slider, getting more strikeouts over recent starts. But again, he's just still priced above pitchers that are still better than him at getting strikeouts. So it's tough. And Miami does do a better job putting the ball in play against lefties than righties. I don't think Kershaw is bad by any stretch. I think that he's got a really high floor. I think he's got a nice ceiling, but you're clearly paying for it. And I think you can get comparable ceilings from cheaper pitchers.
All right, continuing along here, the Mariners in Detroit returning the home series here. You have UC Kikuchi going against Detroit. And even though that would be probably the best matchup for him, I have no desire in looking towards Kikuchi. He has allowed the second most home runs in the league this season, one behind Justin Verlander. On the other side, you have Matt Boyd, 10,300 going against the Mariners, who have, most of their better hitters from the left side of the plate. That is a bonus there for Boyd. Boyd had a tough outing in his last start, but I'm ready to get back on that horse. 10,300 for Matt Boyd. Is he the front runner in the clubhouse for you?
I wouldn't say front runner, but a lot will depend on the ownership projections here. I think that Boyd is in a really good strikeout spot against Seattle. Obviously, for anyone that has listened to anything this year, I think Boyd's a really good pitcher. I don't think he's better than Chris Sale. I don't think he's better than Garrett Cole. So this is one of the few slates where I'm not going to say that Boyd's the most talented pitcher on the slate, but he does have a really good strikeout matchup. It's a better strikeout matchup than Sale has. Cole's is phenomenal as well. But if Boyd's going to go overlooked because he's really close to Sale in price, then I'll probably get a lot. If people are going to go to Boyd because they know Seattle's a good strikeout matchup and he is the sixth most expensive pitcher on DraftKings, then I'd be fine, going to Sale, who I'll probably have projected higher.
Yeah, and then of course there's that chance we may lose the Yankees game or the Boston Cleveland game, which was, I think that was the other one. Yep. I'm sorry. No, it was Philly. Boston, Cleveland's good. Sorry. So only the Yankees is the only one with a pitcher of note where we might lose it. So that'll be an interesting decision point there for everybody. As Adam mentioned, the popularity projections are going to be key. Speaking of key, I don't think you need any UC Kikuchi, right?
I could see using him as a pivot as an SP2. I mean, he's 5,300 on DraftKings. I don't need 100% Thomas Pannone, so I'll probably get to some. But I don't think he's a good pitcher. It's just that, he's got a favorable matchup against the Tigers. Detroit still has a 5.1 implied run total. It's not like it's a risk-free spot or anything like that, but he's really cheap and the Tigers are really bad.
All right, I'm going to get my little spreadsheets up here. So against 105 lefties, Kikuchi has allowed 7 home runs against 438 righties. It is 22 home runs. That is a 2.74 home run per 9 against lefties, a 2.0 home run per 9 against righties, 230 ISO to righties, 360 WOBA. So yeah, it's just that's going to be a tough one. But hey, pitchers have their stuff. He survives. Let's say he gets 5 innings, gives up 3 runs, and we don't care because 2 of them came on home runs. We don't care about that from Kikuchi's standpoint. I guess that would be an outing that would have him surviving at his 5.3 price tag. So there is paths to getting us something decent for our return on investment. It all depends what we then use that extra savings for. Continuing along here, this is the last of the 7 o'clock games, the 7:20 game here. It is the Atlanta Braves hosting the New York Metropolitans. You have Max Fried coming in at 6,700 going against the Mets. The Mets, of course, are better. They're not great, but they are better this season. Obviously, no Robbie Cano, but they do have Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil. J.D. Davis has his moments. Wilson Ramos is a very serviceable catcher here. Not going to make it easy on Max Fried, but that price point, 6,700, that is somewhat intriguing to me. On the other side, Adam, not quite in the ace category, is Zack Wheeler. Difficult matchup for him, but 9,400. There could be some strikeouts for him here in this Braves lineup. How do you want to read the tea leaves for this game? Again, it's in Atlanta, 90 to 95 degrees at first pitch, 50% humidity, so not necessarily a pitching-friendly environment.
Yeah, it's tough to justify the price tag on Wheeler on this particular slate because there are so many good arms and Atlanta's not a great matchup. I do think Max Fried's interesting, especially on DraftKings at 6,700. I think that like if you're just looking at these mid-range arms, you have Brendan McKay at 8,100 against San Diego, but then below that, I would say that Fried is like my favorite or the most talented pitcher in the best spot. And my favorite pitcher at his price point. Like he's 6,700. The guys priced right around him are, Vargas against the Cubs, Yamamoto against the Dodgers, Brett Anderson, Lauer, Trevor Williams against the Angels. Fried to me is just better than all of those guys. The matchup's not great. The Mets have been very productive against left-handed pitching this year. They have some good bats in their lineup. Fried's not a great strikeout pitcher, but he does have really good stuff. Has a really good curveball. Doesn't walk a lot of guys. Only a 6.5% walk percentage this year, and he has one of the best, if not the best, barrels per batted ball percentages of qualified starters this year. So when guys do make contact, he does a really good job of keeping it off the barrel. He has a 3.36 xFIP, 3.87 SIERA, both good numbers. So I think he's just a little bit better than his salary.
All right. And then Mr. Wheeler, any thoughts on him?
Not really. It's just not a good matchup.
We have everybody in action, so we do have some other choices coming up here. Our next two, we're into the 8 o'clock games. We have Martine Perez at 5,600 going against Chase Anderson, 5,800 there on DraftKings. We're looking at a game that we may see the roof close, we may not. It's going to be in the mid-70s there in Milwaukee. No issue with precipitation, no real issue with wind, so my guess is they will probably have that open. At this point, we're bargain shopping. Adam, do you like either of these options? The magic of Martine Perez in his early first 4 weeks or so has worn off dramatically. He's back to the old Martine Perez, but at this price, he could be someone that is worthy of consideration, particularly if Christian Yelich, still banged up, is out of the lineup. What do you want to do with these bargain bin ballers?
I think both of these guys are in consideration in the same way that Kikuchi's in consideration. The matchup isn't as good for either guy, but they're both clearly better pitchers, and they're both sub 6K on DraftKings. Most of Minnesota's projected lineup is left-handed. They have no Nelson Cruz. They lose their DH here. Chase Anderson against lefties this year has a 22% strikeout percentage, which isn't anything special, but he's held them to a 253 expected WOBA and a .087 expected ISO. He's been a reverse splits pitcher for most of his career, but this year he's just allowed nothing to lefties. So getting him at a cheap price tag is somewhat appealing. And then Martine Perez, not a high strikeout guy, but he is cheap. Strikeouts in the Milwaukee lineup. So not in love with either guy because of their matchups, but if I'm looking to get to Garrett Cole or Chris Sale and get to some good bats, with it also being a core slate, I think that living in this price range is a pretty good way to go, and they both certainly can be mixed into some tournament lineups.
All right, speaking of Garrett Cole, he is next up, 12,700, but he gets a phenomenal matchup here against the Chicago White Sox. They're bringing in just a 3.2 implied run total. They have Ivan Nova taking the bump for them. Maybe if you're looking for a differentiation or contrarian play or a salary saver or whatever you want to wrap it in, on the 8 o'clock slate, you can consider Nova. Otherwise, not really interested on the full slate. Houston is coming in with the 6.1 implied run total. Adam, I pulled some numbers here and then put them in a spreadsheet from FanGraphs, so I got to have you double check them for me here. But I'm seeing Garrett Cole against righties since the beginning of last season, 720 with a 30.7% strikeout rate. Against lefties, 693 faced, a 40.6% strikeout rate against lefties. Oh my God, this is like right-handed Randy Johnson.
Yeah, and it's held up just this season too. His strikeout percentage against righties has climbed to 33.9%, but against lefties, he's still at 39.8. He has the best strikeout percentage of all qualified starters. Best strikeout percentage on the slate, obviously, at 36.8%. Best SIERA on the slate, second best xFIP behind Clevenger. He's just been one of the best starters in baseball and the best DFS starter in baseball this year. Really good matchup against the White Sox. Really interested to see how his ownership comes in, because he shouldn't be $2,000 more expensive than Chris Sale, but he is a slightly better strikeout pitcher. He's got a much better strikeout matchup. Sale, I would say, is the better point per dollar option. But if that draws a lot of ownership to Sale, I wouldn't mind trying to find that money for Cole in tournaments.
Yeah, and that's I think an interesting way to go. I can already spot a couple of uber cheapies that may get in the lineup, like Manny Pena at 3,100 at catcher going against Martine Perez. You may see just some in general savings here with like a Victor Reyes at 3,400 going against Kikuchi, or Dawel Lugal. If you need an extreme punt, I'd hate to give away third base, but at 2,800, that's if the trade off is me getting Garrett Cole, uh, an upgrade above Chris Sale there on DK. That is something that I would want to weigh out for a while and figure out where I was going to land on it. We're going to come into a few more craptastic pitchers here. We have the battle of, I forget which freeway series it is, but we're in the Midwest here. We've got the Cardinals. We've got the Kansas City Royals. Cardinals coming in with the ability to have the designated hitter, which actually will help them out. They're going against Glen 420 Sparkman, who is at 4,800 on DK. Jack Flaherty gets the goose up to $9,000 on DK going against the Royals. Royals a little sketchy. They made some people pay here and there, but it's mostly individual hitters. We're worried about the top four, basically: Soler, Dozier, Merrifield, and Gordon. But even then, they're not that daunting when they're going against righties. How do you feel about Flaherty? We're paying darn near top shelf price points for him. Are we going to get the value yield that we need?
I think Flaherty's probably the best pitching option between the Matt Boyd, Chris Sale salary and like the sub 7K Max Fried. I would say I like Flaherty a little bit more than I like Mckay. He's got really good strikeout stuff. Kansas City has 4 good hitters in their lineup, but 3 of them are right-handed, and Flaherty has a 30+% strikeout percentage against righties. Doesn't really give up anything to righties, and the lefties in this lineup just aren't very good. And for the most part, they'll strike out. So I think the Flaherty is a really strong option. On a lot of slates, I would love Flaherty. I don't know how much I'll get to. Just it'll depend on how easy it is for me to find the money for a Boyd or a Sale or a Garrett Cole. But I think Flaherty is like if I were narrowing down my player pool, Flaherty would definitely be one of the mid-range guys I included.
Yeah, his numbers are actually pretty decent. If we just look at some combined lefty-righty numbers, it's basically an even split since the beginning of last year. But he's got a combined 160 ISO, combined 280 WOBA, and then a very reasonable 1.32 home run per 9 rate. So not bad. We're definitely paying for it, but everybody has the same player list and price point here. I'm looking at Glen Sparkman. Goodness, against his last 280 righties, he has allowed just a 160 isolated power. Of course, lefties get to him. He has a 2.14 home run per 9 against lefties since the beginning of last year, just 1.1 against righties. He's going to be facing a ton of righties, but there will be a few key lefties in the lineup here for the Cardinals. We should see Tommy Edman, Matt Carpenter, and then most likely Colton Wong, and then also, I'm blanking on their Dexter Fowler switch hitting, but he's kind of, at this point. But he's been getting some turns at leadoff, depending on what's going on. Matt Carpenter definitely in a bit of a funk here. He's been demoted down to the bottom half of the lineup. Any interest at all in Sparkman?
No, Sparkman's the least appealing, I think, out of all these cheap options. 13.6% strikeout percentage, not a great matchup against the Cardinals. I don't have interest there.
All right. If you had to bet your life on it, would you choose Sparkman or Ariel Jurado?
Well, I mean, like if they were the same price.
Yeah. No, this is your life is the prize in a game. Jurado. Okay. What about Giovanni Gallardo?
He hasn't pitched in like 2 years, but I'd still
but I'm putting him in there against current day Jurado.
Yeah, I'd probably still take Gallardo.
Okay, just checking. These hypotheticals, never know what's going to happen. Here's one that is not a hypothetical. We are in Coors home slate. It's going to be in the mid to upper 80s at first pitch. We've got a 5 to 8 mile an hour breeze going out to left field. It's Zack Galen, no, not of the Miami Marlins, formerly of the Miami Marlins. He is now with Arizona. On the other side, you have John Gray. We have a 12.5 implied run total here, 6 for the Cardinals, 6.5 Cardinals. Good God, I've been doing football. Adam, good God. 6 for the Diamondbacks, 6.5 for, no, not the Broncos, the Rockies. You like to look to John Gray from time to time. Is this one of those times?
I don't think so. There's just too much talent, pitching talent on the slate for me to want to go to Coors Field. I have a ton of respect for Gray. I have a ton of respect for Gallen. If you want to use them as reasons to maybe not play as much, as many bats from Coors Field, then fine. But I don't really see the need to get to either one on this slate just because there's so much other pitching.
All right. Ready to go. We've got Brett Anderson going against Madsen Bumgarner here. This one is in San Francisco, Battle of the Bay, if you will. 3.9 implied run total here for Oakland, 4.2 for the Giants. You've got Brett Anderson, who strikes out literally one half of a batter per inning, whether he wants to or not, going against Mad Bum, 8,600. Kind of going to like Mad Bum here just a little bit, particularly on the late slate, Adam, but he does get a somewhat weakened lineup with the Athletics because they will be, not that it really matters without Chris Davis, but they will not have their designated hitter. It will be Brett Anderson and then whoever is throwing after him, stepping into that number 9 slot here. I know you're not interested in Anderson, but are you interested in Bumgarner?
He's not terrible. Pitching at home, he's obviously better. But the problem for me is that you can, for just a little bit more, you can get Jack Flaherty against the Royals. You know, a high strikeout team, a better strikeout pitcher in Flaherty, as opposed to, Bumgarner against Oakland. The park in San Francisco, of course, is much better for preventing runs. But in general, just getting guys to not allow runs doesn't really win you anything in DFS unless they're really cheap. So between the two, I would rather have Flaherty, and then obviously still would like to get up to one of the top pitchers. So I don't think I'll get a whole lot of Bumgarner here, even though the park is favorable. Still a tough matchup, not a great strikeout spot.
All right, I'm just double checking the pitchers here for our next game because they did not have them when I was writing my list. It is Trevor Williams for the Pirates. Still seeing question marks for the Angels. I'm getting Griffin Canning. There's always a chance they could have an opener in front of somebody that's preventing the sides to put who they think it might be. Do you have any other sources talking about the pitcher for the Angels, and what do you want to do in this matchup of interleague not right?
I'm seeing Griffin Canning.
So how do you feel about Canning against Pittsburgh? It would be the place I would want to go because Trevor Williams, nice real-life pitcher, but I really don't want to take him and his lack of strikeouts against the Angels.
Yeah, I don't have any interest in either side of this game. Canning, making his first start back from the injured list, was sort of limited anyway on pitches, not getting like 100 pitches, and now making his first start since July 30th after an elbow injury. So tough strikeout matchup. I don't see the need.
All right, final game of the night. We have a couple of lefties going against each other. 4 implied run total on either side of this one. Tampa Bay making a rare trip out to San Diego. They've got Brendan Mckay taking the mound. On the other side, the Padres have Eric Lauer, who has been solid, though not spectacular. He is 6,200. The Rays will be without their designated hitter, but they will be able to go mostly righty with their lineup. I think, is Tommy Pham still day-to-day with his injury, Adam?
Yeah, I don't think he played yesterday.
I don't think he did either. So we'll have to see if he's going to be in the lineup or not, but you'll probably be facing the likes of Jesus Aguilar, Mike Brousseau, Travis d'Arnaud, Matt Duffy, nobody that's really that intimidating, but we can say the exact same words about Eric Lauer. Who wins out in that one for you, Lauer or the Devil Rays?
I probably won't have a ton of either side, but I would rather have the Rays bats. Still a really appealing price tag on Aguilar. If Pham's in the lineup, that's a good play. Whichever catcher or both catchers, d'Arnaud and Zunino. Garcia's a good hitter. And Lauer's just a mediocre pitcher, not a great strikeout guy. I don't see a lot of Lauer.
Right, on the other side, are you ready to go with the youngster in Mckay?
I think he's interesting. I just don't know how much I'll get to on this slate. There are strikeouts in the Padres lineup, but there's also a lot of really good power hitters from the right side. McKay's swing and miss stuff has been good. Chase percentage has been good in the majors. I expect him to be a good pitcher, but between Flaherty for a little bit more and then just saving money at SP2, I'm not sure how necessary Mckay is on this particular slate.
All right, with that, we have walked through all of the pitching options here for you. Let's double check here. Adam, if you want to call up FanDuel, let me get and see if there's any pitchers that intrigue you based on price. I'm going to do the same here with the old Yahoo. What do you got that's popping for you on FanDuel?
Sales price tag is still really affordable at 10.5. Like he's still $1,500 less expensive than Kershaw. He's less expensive than Clevenger. Boyd is in that same price range, so you can go there as a pivot, as well. Jack Flaherty's price tag's appealing. I think that a lot of the guys that we were interested, I mean, you basically want one of the top end pitchers. I don't think that there's great value pitching on this slate. Like the guys that we were interested in on DraftKings, the Perez's and the Andersons, they're more expensive on FanDuel, so not really that appealing. I think if you were going to roster John Gray, I think you do it on FanDuel at 6,500.
All right, that's the guy I'm looking at right now. He is 30 on Yahoo, as is Thomas Panona's at 28 and Zach Gallen at 28. Of that trio, would it probably be Gray for you? You also have Perez at 30 and Eric Lauer at 31 in the mix.
Yeah, I think I would lean Gray out of that group.
All right, scrolling up a little bit. Alex Wood against the Nationals, 33. Not the worst price in the world. Brendan Mckay at 35. Okay, that's intriguing there. We keep going up the mid tier. Max Fried 36. So we've got Wood 33, McKay 35, or Fried 36. Would you still go with Fried at that point?
I'd go McKay.
McKay, all right. And then let's see, the next tier up, you've got Boyd at 40, Flaherty at 40, Mad Bum at 42. I'm guessing Boyd.
Yeah, Boyd.
And then
the Yahoo price on Boyd's been fun this year.
Yeah, he's going to be quite popular. And then we have Garrett Cole. Oh my God, 63. I haven't seen a 63 in a while there. That's like a Max Scherzer going against Miami price. But Cole at 63, Kershaw at 57, Sale at 51, or Clevenger at 48. Now there's a $15 gap between those four.
Yeah, I still think it's Sale, but you can obviously make the pivot to Clevenger. If Cole's not going to get any ownership, then it's similar to DK, where there's still a good chance he just scores more points than everyone. But it's the rare slate where I don't think you have to pay all the way up for Cole.
All right. With that, we're going to get on out of here, gamers. You can follow Adam on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. I am at EMACDFS. And, of course, it is Osmo_COM. Go check out the pinned tweet as we head towards 10,000 followers. There's a little giveaway going on there. Check it out. There will be some celebratory free passes given away, some premium content for you to enjoy. With that, hopefully everybody has made it safely to work. Good luck, gamers.